What's up everyone? I'm Gymkhana Josh and welcome to my channel. I've been a car guy since 1999. I started riding motorcycles in 2008-ish, and I lived in Okinawa, Japan for 6 years, where I became obsessed with ramen and ramen culture and Japanese everything in general. But a few months ago, I moved back stateside. I'm living in Brooklyn, New York now, and I had the intention immediately of hitting the track hard. So I bought Whitney here, my girl, I got a trailer, and I've been building my Honda Odyssey minivan to be a camper van. Join me along the way, and I'm sure you'll have some fun.
Send me to my grave.
Let me tell you about this little lady in my life.
Send me to my grave.
Relationship. Since neither of us ever really agreed
Yes,
on it.
yes, yes.
But I love her though. And I think she
I
loves
gotta
me.
speak me.
But you know how relationships go. Now check it out.
So my passion for cars started off immediately upon getting my license. My mom gave me a 1989 Honda Accord as a hand-me-down vehicle for me to learn on and basically just get from home to school, and everything else I did with it was definitely not what they had planned for me to use the car for, but I beat the crap out of it actually. I was racing everywhere. Joined like automotive message boards, met a lot of guys. Shout outs to everybody that's there on www.3gs.com. You guys changed my life. Love you. But yeah, I also had from my dad a hand-me-down 1992 Ford Escort, but I don't really count that as my first vehicle because I didn't really love it like the Accord. But the Escort was the car that I learned how to drive a stick on, and I guess that's special in its own way. So the Accord I had for a couple years in high school, and then I finally decided to go to an automotive technical school in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So the Accord completely changed over the years, but went with me to ATI in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where I actually learned the ins and the outs of automotive technology, how to fix them, how to build them, how to how to convert from fuel, gasoline to natural gas and all sorts of other things. Basically, it set the tone for me for my life for years to come after that. I met a lot of really badass guys at ATI that I still have lasting friendships with these guys to this day, even 10, 15 years after the fact. So great experience going to Virginia, learning about cars. Fast forward a handful of years, I actually had the opportunity to move to Japan in 2012, 2013. I had the opportunity I could move to Japan, and the very first thing on my mind was GTR, R32 GTR. I'd always played with GTRs, with Skylines and Gran Turismo, and fantasized about them through the internet and through other video games, but this was finally my chance that I could see one in person, maybe even touch one. That was amazing to me. So that was why I took the opportunity. I moved to Japan in 2013. And it was probably one of the greatest things again that I've ever done in my life. 2014 is when I actually bought my Skyline. I was looking around for a while, but even then, before it was legal to take back to the US, they were still kind of expensive. They were around the $10,000, $12,000 price range, which is expensive to me. I'm not a baller by any means. I don't have oodles of money to throw away at whatever. I got a budget and I got to plan and save and do what I consider normal people to do. So when I was browsing the internet forums one day, I found this white R32 Skyline GTR. It was in 1993, so it wasn't legal to take back yet. Like, for a handful of years, it wasn't ready to take back yet. But the guy was only asking $8,000 for it. And I was wondering why it was so cheap compared to other ones I've seen. From the pictures, it looked good. It was pretty much all stock. There had been modifications in the past, but maybe since those modifications had been done, owners closer to when I purchased it took things off, like turbo timers and sway bars and things like that. Like, you could tell things had been installed. There was like screw holes in the pillars and like residue from tape underneath the dash. So you could see that there were things installed before that weren't on it in the pictures. In any case, make a long story short, I scooped up this Skyline, ended up paying $7,000 US for a 93 Nissan Skyline GTR white with a little bit of rust around the rear windshield, the rear window, and the quarter panel. But for $7,000 to drive your dream car, that's a pretty damn good deal. I jumped on it. Again, while I was driving that car, I did a lot of drivetrain upgrades. I did pretty much all the basic bolt-ons. Obviously, you know, like intake, header, exhaust, like injectors, plenums, anything you can do to the motor without cracking open the bottom end. Cams, timing, like cam gears, things like that. Just basic bolt-on stuff. But I always wanted to do more to it. I just didn't want to do it while I was there in Japan. It was also my daily driver, so I couldn't really tear it down and have it off the road for a long period of time. I needed something that I could use to get around every day, so the Skyline was it. I just wanted to do basic things to refresh it and minor upgrades here and there before I got it back stateside. So fast forward again, 2018, I got to send the Skyline back to the US, and at that point, I needed something to ride. I needed something to drive while I was there, but I didn't want to buy another $8,000, $10,000 sport compact because the market had been flooded with buyers trying to find 90s Japanese sports cars, even your basic, you know, Honda Civic or CRX. I think the same thing probably happened here in the States, actually, where 90s Japanese cars just started skyrocketing in price for no reason. And I couldn't afford that once I sent the Skyline back to the US. So it made a lot of sense for me to just get a bike. I had ridden bikes before, and I knew it was economical. Insurance is cheaper, gas is cheaper, it's smaller, it doesn't take up as much space. It just makes a lot more sense for me in Japan to have a bike. So I got a Kawasaki Ninja 250, 2009 Kawasaki Ninja 250, and I beat the crap out of that bike. I learned a lot, actually, on that bike. If anybody tells you that you'd never need a Ninja 250 or a small CC bike like that, not that everybody does, but I've heard it before here and there. You can most definitely become a very skilled rider on a 250, 300cc, you know, smaller displacement motorcycle. It forced me to, in the twisty roads, everybody else, you know, riding their 600s, 650s, 750s, thousands and up, it forced me to have to actually go like balls to the wall, open throttle, focus on my turn in, focus on my exit speeds, focus on my braking, the little braking that I did to actually keep up with my buddies that were riding out there. It was an amazing experience, actually. I took a lot of classes. I did the MSF courses while I was there in Japan. Even though I had ridden back stateside, I didn't really take advantage of the opportunities that I had in the US, and especially when on the motorcycle. I never took the classes. I figured it was just another $350 expense that wasn't necessary. I could go to the DMV and get my permit, and I could ride right then. I didn't really need a license even in my state. So why go through all that trouble and pay the extra money if I could just have my permit and be done with it? So that's what I did for years. It wasn't until I went to Japan and I started riding with other people and, again, being presented the opportunity to take those MSF courses that I started doing it and realizing that I really didn't know anything about riding. I had ridden for years before that, blasting down the highway, getting from home to work, maybe hitting the twisties here and there, but I really didn't know about riding technique and the skills involved in being a skilled rider until I was in Japan. So I started progressing. I started trying to up my game. I did the basic rider course, did the advanced rider course, did the California Superbike School, advanced rider track day, and also just got involved in the community there. A lot of Americans in Japan riding motorcycles, and there's a lot of hosted rides or sponsored rides, not sponsored rides, but hosted rides and like publicized rides every weekend in Japan. All you gotta do is just find the right group, the right person, and get out there and get involved and just, don't be a douchebag. So it's always out there. It's always there to find. I just started getting involved, started doing things, riding my 250, and I got to the point though with my 250 that I wanted to get to the next level. Not that I had mastered everything that I could possibly do with the 250, but I wanted to experience those roads on a bigger bike and see actually how I stacked up against the other people that I was riding with. So I got a CBR 600RR, and I rode that really only for a couple months before I left Japan, before I came back stateside. But it was fun while I had it. Kara. She was a really finicky CBR, had electrical issues, had gas tank issues, had just like a handful of things that needed to get taken care of a long time ago. But just slacking on maintenance, owner to owner to owner to owner. Finally, it fell on me. I ended up not getting to ride it as long as I could have just because I was trying to fix it up the entire time. Whatever, everything happens for a reason, right? So 2018 to 2019, I realized that I'm gonna have to come back stateside. It's just inevitable. I would have to come back here to the US. So I sold the CBR. I got rid of the extra parts that I had and said goodbye to the amazing land of the rising sun. The sushi, the ramen, the bright lights, the neon lights, the laughs, the izakayas, Japan's a great place, by the way. If you ever have the opportunity to go to Japan, go to Japan. Anywhere in Japan. Whether it be the mainland, the Okinawa, Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, even the northern parts in Sapporo, go visit Japan. It is a very, very interesting, amazing place. Some places is kind of expensive, but it's not any more expensive than like where I'm at right now, Brooklyn, New York, or Manhattan, New York. This is by far the most expensive place I've ever lived in my life. I would rather be spending my top dollar in Osaka than in some place in Manhattan, honestly. But whatever. Be that as it may. So another thing that I did while I was there was found an affinity for ramen. I love ramen. I love ramen. I started off with just like basic miso, no added toppings to my ramen, and I don't really remember how I got first introduced to it, but I remember after a while of just using ramen as the hangover food on the weekends, I decided I really wanted to make ramen for myself instead of going to this restaurant every weekend. And I took a cooking class to make ramen and got a basic recipe from this lady to make ramen, but I wasn't happy with it. And I started just traveling around different places trying to figure out where the best ramen was. And it was always a adventure trying new ramen spots. The culture, the food, the whole experience is just so amazing in Japan, and I just wanted to soak up as much ramen as I possibly could while I was there. And I definitely did. I definitely like ate way too much ramen. It's not exactly the most healthy food for you, but it's so delicious. It's good for the soul, that's for sure. So I ate a bunch of ramen, and I knew, again, coming back stateside, it was gonna be hard for me to find that perfect bowl of noodles that I was so accustomed to in Japan. But I was a little hopeful. I started looking at Brooklyn, I started looking at, New York City as a whole on YouTube, and I found that there are a lot of ramen joints here in New York City, and that ramen culture is actually kind of like a growing phenomenon in this area. So it actually inspired quite a bit of confidence in me that I would find a good bowl of ramen eventually while I was here. And I haven't been let down. You'll see, I haven't been let down at all. There's been some really good bowls. There's been some, I'll say, not so good bowls here in the US, but I'm very forgiving. I'm very understanding that this is not where it originated, and people are trying new things and trying different approaches to traditional ramen styles, and that's all gravy. It's all good. As long as people are enjoying your food, like keep going, keep doing it. You don't have to 100% duplicate the ramen that is made in Japan. If people here are enjoying the way that you do things, and like the seating arrangements and the ambiance of your restaurant, then to hell with it, man. Just go with it. I'm a little particular. I find myself being a hater sometimes, actually, when it comes to ramen, because like I did my research and I did my time experiencing Japanese ramen culture, and when I came here and I saw variations from the norm, it kind of bugged me. It kind of made me get into hater mode, like who do these people think they are doing this? But I always have to catch myself and think, this isn't Japan. It's not Japanese ramen culture. So it's got to be unique. It's got to be different. And New York is just unique and different in itself. So I'm trying to learn about New York ramen culture and jump into it and enjoy it to the full extent that I enjoy Japanese ramen culture. So that's a big part of what I'm into now here in New York, now that I'm here. Again, when I came back to the States, I tried to hit the track in a big way. I knew immediately, the tracks weren't so readily available in Japan to me. They were there, but they weren't cheap or easy to access, or the rules in some places were kind of ridiculous before you could actually even step foot on a track. So I knew that once I came back stateside, that was one of the first things I wanted to do. And that's really the only thing that I had driving me when I first stepped foot on US soil again was, I need a bike, I need a trailer, I need something that can tow that trailer. And I found this on Craigslist. Whitney is a 2003 Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R. I found her on Craigslist in another state, and there was one owner. The guy learned how to ride on this bike, and you'll see, there's cracks from where the bike was dropped, there's scrapes from where the bike was dropped, but mechanically, Whitney is amazing. She did awesome at New Jersey Motorsports Park a month ago now. She's a great bike, but just guy bought her brand new 2003 and dropped her a couple times. Here she is. I do plan on upgrading the plastics at some point. I want to get the knockoff cheap Chinese Amazon plastics and put them on there. I hear a lot of good things about them actually, and one of the buddies that I work with bought some knockoff plastics for his Yamaha, and it worked out really well. So I'll probably end up getting plastics this winter for Whitney. I also bought a trailer. It's a smaller trailer, at like 10 foot by 8 foot or something like that. Vino's trailer with the rails, with a chalk block and everything else. I also have a 2007 Honda Odyssey minivan that I'm converting into a camper van. And I've already taken it to New Jersey Motorsports Park, camped out for a couple days. The only things I've really done to it is obviously removed the seats, and I put down my own hardwood floor, some insulation, some vinyl tile just for aesthetics. Put a couch in there. I'll share with people later on the couch that I not installed, but the couch that I put in the back of my van. It converts into a twin XL mattress, so it folds in and out from couch to mattress in the back of a minivan. Also got a 32-inch TV. I had my PlayStation in there for a while, and I made some custom insulating window covers for the windows, but it's working out really well. It tows the trailer just fine, and so far it's working out really well as far as my plan to hit the track. Unfortunately, now it's November 9th or 10th. It's starting to get cold. It's 31 degrees out there right now, and I'm not going to be riding very much, so I'm going to be eating a lot of ramen, but not going to be riding so much for the next couple weeks, next couple months, until it starts getting warm again. But I'm experiencing some good things here in New York. I am still trying to get used to this whole environment. Coming from Japan after 6 years, it's a little bit of a culture shock hitting New York City. The people here are different than any other place I've ever been in my entire life. The people here are kind of rough, to say the least. But there's a genuine attribute about that. These people are honest. They're probably really good people, but they just don't have any tolerance for slow drivers or slow anything. They gotta move. They gotta get where they're going. And I gotta get used to that because where I was at in Japan, it's complete opposite. Everything was slow. Slow moving, slow mentality, just take things slow. But here I am. I'm in New York. I got my bike. I got my trailer. I got my van. And I got things to do. So if you're into anything that I've been talking about, whether that be ramen or bikes or cars or hell, even music, or I'm going to get involved. I'm going to start doing some things. And if you subscribe to my channel, you like what I'm doing, you're going to have some fun along the way too. Speaking of subscribing, hit that button, subscribe to my channel, like what I'm doing, send me a message, drop me a line, let me know what's going on, what you like, what you don't like. It's all going to help me out in the end. Thank you.